Hello, hello.
Happy tea time.
Happy Friday the 13th, Ascension Talk, Friday tea time. So much love to all of you with our teas from Whole Foods.
Here in beautiful, warm Miami. We finally found a place where we could connect. What an adventure.
What a chaos. So you're going to hear all kinds of noise here. We couldn't really get a reception. Hi, Daniel. We couldn't get really reception at the Starbucks. And sorry, I'm wearing this because the how you say
The glare.
glare is so much.
Real quickly, because we're sharing
Can
a
we
mic,
hear it?
can you guys hear us clearly? I know the mic is close to Honey, but Danielle, Valerie, do you hear us?
Hi, Valerie.
We're both sharing one because we're kind of in a limited situation right now, but just wanted to kind of go over and sound check with you guys since you're already on to see if you can hear us clearly. Let us know if that is okay.
So I had brought my iPhone down here so it can put the Wi-Fi on it.
Don't touch it. Yes, just don't touch it. Okay. I
Okay,
can hear
so-
there's slight crackling. Okay, so
maybe we just hold it like that, Michael.
Okay.
You know I can always connect the other mic to it.
What
Do you
mic
want
is
me
that?
to? This one. Guys, give us a second. Here, Michael, hold this for a second. The usual. No, you hold.
Okay. So, thank you guys for joining us. It's always an adventure when you can just kind of roll with it and see what happens on the last minute of where we find ourselves in connection. Unfortunately, where we're staying in Miami, we don't have Wi-Fi. Moving to.
Okay, let's see how this works. Can everybody hear us? We are on our big microphone now.
But you may hear a lot of things in the background.
No, because this is going to be honed in more on us. That's good. Okay, thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much. So, where we are in our family house, there's no Wi-Fi there. So I got my phone to be activated in Wi-Fi, but it wasn't ready. So we had to drive, like really just last minute, try to figure out where to do this because Miami's energy is really just intense and crazy, and you can see it's so perfect because you're gonna experience the absolute chaos of the people and sound, and they love their noise here.
It's the raw culture, which I think is beautiful because you get to hear all the cars, you get to hear all the sound. So take it as
so you're just
welcome,
right with us.
Welcome to South Florida.
So happy Friday! Now, tell us where you are joining us from, and also how. Let's see, what tea are you drinking? So I got myself a detox tea today. And my message today is, if we give happiness to others, we will end up happy. That's a cute one.
I'm drinking a rooibos, and there is no message.
No message. Why don't you make up a message?
The message is, when you're kind to yourself, you're automatically kind to others.
Oh, that's nice.
Because
Peppermint tea.
that beautiful kindness always shares in that beautiful way of transmission. So let us enjoy our kindness and our beautiful way of showing that for today.
Yeah, organic green tea, peppermint tea. Thank you so much. So how are you all doing? Valerie, Daniel, there are a couple of other people that are on here. If you'd like to drop in, say hello, it would be great to have you. How are you all doing? How was 12-12-12 yesterday for you? Just how you feeling? We want to kind of dive into this. Michael and I did not get a chance to talk to each other about what we experienced, so we figured we're going to leave it here to share it here with you, because sometimes when we experience, we just don't discuss it with each other until afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we wanted to first find out, are you guys sleeping? I didn't get any sleep last night.
My sleep was very, very chaotic, but that's what happens when we're in Miami and there's quite a bit of energies around us.
Yeah.
We have a lot of pressure in the head, and do feel a little dehydrated, Valerie.
Yeah.
So
Very
I feel
dehydrated.
there's a certain amount of, as we know, activation that's happening in our bodies, but also just aware that more fluid is necessary these days, and it's very humid here. It's very warm. It's interesting to go from a very cold environment to a warm environment very quickly and see how your body updates in a quick transition, less than several hours.
Well, on an energetic level, I feel just very, very thirsty. I had just insane dreams last night. one of my teachers that I was trained with, Dolores Cannon, she dropped it into my dream last night, and again I had some astral experience coming out of my body while my body was there. There's some interesting things that took place last night, and just some disturbing energies, like me eating an owl, a baby owl that had just died. That really bothered me.
Wow.
You know how I feel about owls.
Well, I know you're a vegetarian, so eating any type of
Animal.
let alone one of your favorite pets, I think would be atrocious.
Very disturbing.
I don't know what eats owls other than the top of the food chain, eagles and hawks and everything else. So
it was very bothersome.
Wow.
But anyway, so here we are. So a lot happened yesterday. Why don't we just get into it? Because between going to pick up Michael's mother from the airport,
she's flying into Fort Lauderdale in an hour and a half, so we're excited to have her come into town.
In an hour, yeah, almost.
Yeah.
So let's just dive in to get into it. So I want to just talk about a little bit of the mechanics of this, Michael, first on this tea time. So I wanted to share this with. I don't know if you guys, some of you, Valerie and Danny, and some of the other ones that are here. Hi, Christina. So much love. I don't know if you got a chance to read my post regarding meeting the InterGalactic High Council. So when I experienced that, and I knew with this 12 energy, this again the 3 energy, again it's the 9 energy. So we have in the month of December 4 of these gateways. Each of them are galactic gateways. We already went through 12-3. That was just opening it up. The major one was yesterday. Huge one. There's another resetting with this, another layer of completion. Then we get to the biggest one is the 12-21, because that's also with the winter solstice. So like really major one. And then we have 12-3. So we have 4 of these gateways. Each of them, they help us activate the other dormant DNA within us, and also for us to upgrade in octaves of light through these light streams that are coming in. The one yesterday, I knew after the meditation experience I had to work with the within the triple flame. Each of the flames, there were 4 rays within each of them. And after that experience I had with the InterGalactic Councils, I knew I were to open up this flame literally from inside of it. That's why, Michael, you get to hear this for the first time. So opening it up, and these other 4 rays coming out of this triple flame. And that triple flame, again, the connection between the body, this heart, the spirit, the soul, all of this in this alignment of the soul was so important, with the divine alignment coming in, because we're moving into that direction for 2020 anyway. So yesterday was very interesting because it was pouring rain when we woke up. It rained like cats and dogs, and we were like, I don't even know if we're going to be able to make it to the beach, because we knew we had to be on the land. And so we've been 12-12, we've served in 12-12 ever since we met.
We were here last year in 12-12.
12-12 as well. And then I've been before Michael 3 years prior to that. There's a lot with 12-12. This Miami is also very interesting where we're positioned, because Art Basel is usually the week before. There's a lot of dark, intense energy. There's also profound light. It's works with the Bermuda portal here. And it's also connected the work that's done between North America, Central America, and South America. So there's a lot that has to be dispersed. And as we got on the beach, we had our umbrellas walking, getting soaked, and as soon as we sat down, the rain totally stopped.
When we walked to the beach, what was interesting is there was all these beautiful fuchsia petals on the beach.
Rose petals. Somebody had been there earlier.
It was amazing to see, like, when you look at X marks the spot, right when we entered, right in front of us, which is a whole bunch of petals on the ground. And it was interesting, once we got there, the rain started to lighten up just a little. And as we started to prepare, it was almost like the closer we got to 12:12, the energy of
But
the
it
ring
wasn't.
started to
We
move.
got there 5 minutes to 12 o'clock, and we put our stuff up. I'm very quickly trying to even light the incense. We couldn't, and it was one of those. Michael, you do your part, I do my part. So we put the stuff up, and right away, just in front of us, the sky cleared. It's still, you can see in the picture, like totally dark on the right side and left side, and right above us, and that usually happens anyway. So as we began, the sun started coming in, and so I started. So what was happening with me, Michael? If you saw when I went that way, you didn't see because you closed your eyes.
Right.
But when I went put my feet in the water, I knew I had to be in the water. And I really wanted to be naked, but it wasn't a place where I could be naked. So I felt guided right away. Just as I stood, put my feet in the water, I was asked to put myself inside a Vesica Pisces. So I drew a Vesica Pisces, and I put a couple of light codes in there, and I stood in the center of the Vesica Pisces. And then from there, I started moving into the sound. And what was happening was the sounds, I was moving into the sounds of the triple flame inside my heart, and letting the sound vibration of the triple flame expand out of me, and through the rays of light, each of them radiating 4 rays of light coming out and vibrating through me. So my hands were in total movement, moving the frequency of these rays of light all around, connecting it to the portal, connecting it to the crystalline portal of Gaia, and then the spiral all around to connect to the stratosphere and the unity Christ consciousness grid. That's what I was working with. And there were various numerous sounds. And so the ones that I knew to work with, from like the Lyrans, are Andromedans, Arcturians, Syrians, Timoians, Avalians, Vegans, Antarians, which one? There were a couple of other Pleiadians. So these are the ones that I was working with, and there were a couple of other ones that I didn't know, and I was just tuning to that space in the InterGalactic Council, the rays of light. I'm working with each of the ray that they had emanated through. So that took me a while. It took me a good, I would say, almost 30 minutes. I felt very expanded, exhausted. I was inside the Vesica Pisces for a while till I started asking to spiral it around me. There was also the gold and the silver ray in there too. So I started spiraling it around me quite a bit, like literally physically moving, like in my crystalline diamond, spinning my crystalline diamond that way. So that took quite a bit of while. Then the other part was, for me, was Gaia's crystalline diamond heart and Mother Creator's crystalline diamond heart. All of them sort of like, so if you imagine it's if you imagine a spiraling vortex that's very wide, and then it gets narrower. So the narrow part met in my heart, and then you know how you bring it down, it starts spiraling the other way. That was from Gaia. So both of these spiraling vibrations were meeting through me, going in and out. So that's what was happening for a while. Got me dizzy for a little bit. And of course, then sun came out and had to jump in the water to enjoy it. And what was the other part that was very beautiful was from inside the diamond, these radiants are like, so my upper diamond is in this one I use the 4-sided pyramid, and then bottom portion 4-sided pyramid, and from inside of it, in each of the 4 sides, this one 3-sided pyramid, so 4 rays of light through each facet was coming out. Does that give you a visual? Okay, so that's what was happening on my end. It felt amazing, it felt great, and I felt the work was completed, because from 12:12, then we have this other window to 12:21, and 12:21, there's this cycles that's, I'm just going to have you then explain, that is the completion of the cycles, and there was something personal Michael and I were going through, and I was very vocal about that. I will not compromise, I will not sacrifice. And those are all the standing up in being devoted to this inner presence of this truth inside, that I will only find that, because the higher self is totally merging within the human, and that's what's happening. And total no compromise, no sacrifice, and having the ability to voice that truth.
Exactly.
So,
and we know that on 1212, a lot of those sensitivities come out. All those energies in these gateways are bringing up old healings, old traumas, old energies that are being up and cleansed. So it was very powerful that as everything was being brought up, it was being washed away and dissolved into its fullest and highest light. That day when I first closed my eyes and went into the 1212 transmission, immediately I saw the golden light and silver frequencies start moving around. It was as immediately as when I closed. It was interesting just to see.
From 1111.
Yeah, because it was the continuation from those golds, but they were interlocked in many infinity signs that were moving around. And as that was coming through, it brought me into realizing, and I immediately felt the presence of the Cohan rays of light. And those Cohan rays of light directed me to bring the 7 rays through me. What was very powerful was when sitting there and feeling these golden silver rays of light moving, all of a sudden there was a spinning below me and there was a spinning above me. And even before I met you, in my own meditations, in my own healings, there were many times where I saw myself sitting in the center of Gaia, and it was interesting. It was like sitting in a Buddha position, in which I would bring that force of love into my heart, and then as soon as that love went into my heart, this light came right directly through me, through the planet, and expanded outward. So I feel that my soul has been guided to do that in meditations on days that I knew that was even before I met you, energies that were facilitating and activating different areas that I was when I was in specific meditations. Yesterday, which was wild, is when this started to happen, I started to see golden lights. As soon as the gold and silver started moving around.
Were they together?
They were together.
Okay.
They were together, and then they started to spiral. As soon as it started to spiral, then there was a huge golden light coming directly down in this, and as I was sitting in the center. As it was coming down, then all of a sudden, I felt each ray of light come through me, and as it came through me, it expanded and it went outward, spiraling out in different directions. So it was wild to see each of the 7 rays come through and then sit with that. And then as I was sitting with that, then I was directed to come into my heart and to ground that frequency into the crystalline diamond heart of Gaia, by then feeling the immense allow of love that I was right in that moment. And that love for the ocean, that love for honey being right in front of me, that love for our ascension, that love for everything that was moving through, was to bring forth that feeling of love to expand out into those rays. As those rays started to expand outward, then all of a sudden there was a pyramid below me with an apex and a pyramid above me with an apex, and I was in the center of that. When the rays started to come out, then it brought me into a scene where I was this ancient Native American on the beach, where then a very elegant chant started to come through me. And as I was starting to chant, it took me into this really beautiful dance where I was seeing myself on the beach dancing and moving in a very traditional ancient Native American, or maybe not American, Native ancestral dance. As I was dancing and moving my hands, what was wild is as my hands were moving and singing, all the rays of light were then being expanded out of my hands, and then those rays started to move.
Were they the 7?
They were the 7, and so those 7 rays started to move out of the hands. And what was interesting, as they were moving out of the hands, it was a multidimensional picture that then showed the energy where we were sitting in Miami. Then showed all of the grid lines of Mother Earth. So I saw the dragon line. I saw the Yeshua Mary Magdalene. I saw all the grids that were coming through, and they were all being lit up. And as they were all being lit up, there was still this dance that was going on. And then as that dance was going on, and I was in that for a good 15 minutes singing and dancing, because I could see that it was really magical to see as things were moving and his hands were coming in. It was like, imagine like your hands were going like this and like this, and then and the colors were going like this.
That's what was happening with me too.
So they, as they were moving and as they were coming out, all of a sudden, then it showed the Earth as a tutorial field where that energy was coming up, and it came up and around. And as it was coming up and around, what was really interesting, and I saw this on, I saw someone post last night, Maureen Moss and another person. I saw this at 12:12, where all of a sudden everything was purple, and then I felt Saint Germain right above me, and the whole Earth being like covered in violet flame. So as soon as that happened, then what was interesting, the chant shifted is, I am the being, the violet fire, I am the purity God desires. And that started to chant through me. And as that was chanting through me, then that energy of the violet flame started to fulfill everything around me, where it was completely violet, like complete energy. And then
I experienced that at the end too. But the chant that was coming through me was, I am a divine light. I'm a being. No, I am a divine being of light. I'm a divine being of light. Like violet completely all over her.
And it's interesting how many people experience that.
Wow.
Hi, Janet. And hi,
Janet.
Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin.
Thank you, guys, for joining. We're just talking about what happened
our
in our
experience
12.
today.
And so I thought what was really profound in that moment is in that frequency, in that gateway, there was such a rush of energy that as it was moving through my body, it was like goosebumps, and energy was protruding out of every cell, out of every multidimensional capacity. And at the same time, there was this there was just this deep connection to Mother Earth as being inside it, in it, but at the same time standing back and watching what was going through. And then all of a sudden, when the violet flame came in, then all of a sudden there was these golden frequencies of codes and light that just started sprinkling all down Earth. And then that brought me back to this native ancestral man, very elegant, dancing, and again just humming. And what was interesting is as I sang and as I hummed, it was this language that felt so loving, so similar, so like old, that it came through, and I almost wanted to just like go up and stand, but there was also people walking around us, and there was also some distraction of runners. So I just sat within that energy, and the whole time I was spiraling, and I could feel that energy. And what was powerful, as that transmission activation was going on, I could feel the sun getting stronger and stronger around us. So it was really powerful to really work with the Cohan rays of light, and also to see how that was being brought through me as I was anchoring that into Earth, anchoring that around Earth, and then bringing that through the horizontal axis. So it was pretty profound. I mean, there was a couple more things that were happening, but as always, like when you're being activated that much, there's only so much you can remember which was moving through.
So it's so interesting. A lot, like as usual, we have a lot of this similarities, and that's why we don't discuss it till we have something like this, so we can just discuss it with each other. And what was the other part that was happening? There was a lot of activity with the Antarians. Antarians, usually my hands go like this, and the transmissions. So there was a lot of the re-engineering codings that was happening through the Antarians. Also, for me, was the connection to the galactic sun and the central sun and the source light of all illumination. That was the pivotal, like the pillar that was being anchored. And then just a lot of clearing. And one of the things that I received was in this clearing, especially, again, this portal of Miami, there's a lot of very chaotic energy. The innocence of the people is just like there's so many individuals who are just bought. The souls are just bought. They're so far from divinity. It's very interesting, and you feel the grids here so strongly from one neighborhood to another. Like you suddenly, like how how it changes and how much, let's say, disharmony is there because it's not breathing and it's not vibrating, and how some of the other one is hijacked. And the other part of it is also like here, one of the most challenging things for several years I've been here. For 3 years, I held a lot of circles, did a lot on the beach, especially that beach we're in. I should tell you, remember I had the experience with you? Remember the experience I told you, like when I had a visitation from Bob Marley right before I went to Peru, and I like totally freaked out because like from spirit side he showed up on a horse.
I think so.
There, it was right there. I got so excited that I kicked myself out of the meeting with Bob Marley. But over that same place, that had numerous experience of many Native American tribes that are about like 75,000 years old and what have you, on horses in that region especially. I've had several of them gather on when I've drummed in that area for several years. That's exactly where we are.
Because if you look at Miami, most of Miami, you have skyscrapers, like you have huge buildings all along. And right at 79th Street, where we love to just go swimming, we love to see sunrise. It's the one area where they've not built it, they've respected it. We know that there's some very, very powerful Native Americans. So it was
and some of their plants are still there. So you really feel, and then you also feel like there's sadness that are there. So there's a lot of prayer there. The other part of it that I wanted to share was you hear that a lot. Like within here, there's either very, very severe Kundalini yoga folks who are very just extreme, like that's what they're dedicated to. Again, no judgment. Or the insane extreme plant medicine. That's it. Or the severe Kabbalah. There's like no purists here. Like Michael and I, we consider ourselves purists. You know, nothing on the outside, nothing, and just don't follow anything, just straight divine and the sacred breath. It's very hard to have a circle here because so many people are used to putting things in their body or going in a certain way, and it's just a fascinating energy to do. But I want to share that with you.
Just one thing to that, and it reflects the energy in Miami, because I feel Miami is a very extreme place. There's no middle layer or midline or kind of way of the middle path, because I feel like here there is such an extreme nature of very wealth to very poor. There's an extreme nature of very high vibrations to low vibrations. There's an extreme nature of very image oriented of who I am, what I drive. And so I feel like those energies, you know, circumvent what's happening in the atmospheres here, because it kind of is a macrocosm, microcosm, because it is trying to find the alignment, the balance, the harmonization of how you can find that middle point, that middle frequency, so that each thing is in line. Because if we're going from one absolute to the other, then we're not living in our full recognition of our balance of who we are. So Miami definitely shares that in its vibrational capacity, which there's plenty of here. I mean, from everything from the pure and the light and the high vibration and the beautiful water, but you're also met with other vibrations that for sensitive people, for empaths, it's just very important to always keep that light and just constant levels of clearing and cleansing when moving through these different grid lines, because when you're driving, you can feel them from block to block of where these densities are.
Totally. The other part of it, what's very important about here, some of you that feel called to do some work here, Valerie, absolutely. The Atlantean temples are here. I was shown 9 of the crystal temples that are here, and then they do extend all the way to Long Island. The other part of it is there's just a lot of the debris when Atlantis did sink, and some of the hardcore abuse, if you want to call it, still very much remains here. The other part that was part of my clearing yesterday with 1212, working with the completion energy, was this vertical access line that runs from Canada all the way down through Toronto with the work we've done in Toronto, coming all the way down. It runs straight through Miami, and it goes down through Cuba, goes all the way down through Colombia, and down to Peru. Goes down. So it just, and it's close actually to Machu Picchu, and a little bit further out of Lima. And this vertical access is also very important in clearing this line. So as these grids, there's so many different ones that connect from one to another that the energy is vibrating properly. And there was this work that I was doing with the rays of light, with the energy was moving into the infinity through around the stratosphere on Mother Earth, first like in the horizontal axis, but higher up, going up in the sonic waves, up and down with the rays, all these 12 rays, like sort of like spiraling, like if you want to say DNA, like that, all around Earth, but in first this horizontal around Earth, and then the vertical connecting to the crystalline quarter of Gaia from going out this way and the other way. So there was quite a bit of work, and we love that.
Because I also recognize our work that we did in Greece. It was interesting to see what was coming across in the diamond frequencies from Greece horizontally all the way across, and then also the grid lines which were going vertical. It was interesting how it started with the horizontal and in a wave like infinity sign that was moving through all the grids.
Yeah, because this hits Miami and then to Hawaii.
Yeah.
So we were still working with that.
All of those that were happening, it could be streamed from Bermuda to the line up into England, into Canada, into South America, into Mexico. It was just really interesting to be grounding that energy and watch it streamline across horizontally, and then go vertically with a vertical axis. So it was powerful to see how all of it was collaborating, and then to feel those energies of being the pinpoint in the middle. Because in the middle, it was interesting. At one point, when the two pyramids were above and below, I swear there was like this amazing big ship above that was just bringing in a serious frequency of energy.
But isn't it interesting? Your pyramid, you were having it that side. Mine was the other way.
My pyramid was like the axis. It's like this, and then like this. So there were two pyramids, but then I was in the center as a transmitter, and then there was two, and then eventually there was two. It first showed the vertical, and then it showed two pyramids coming side to side, so that the energy that was happening was the apex of all of them meeting in the middle as the transmission was going through as a transmitter.
So the way I see all of this is once this takes place, there is a vibration shift within the individual. As the vibration shift that happens within the individual between this window. So again, remember from 11/11 to 12/21 is 40 days. Within this 40 days, we have had 40 days of our octave of light upgrading, updating, and so that we are carrying more of the light stream within us. Then we have these portals that it's like literally pouring in, and the amount that we've been able to let go, the amount that we've been able to release. Like interesting, you were, few days of releasing physically, those are all part of creating space on a physical template, getting rid of it so because this higher self, the I am, is really coming into the human vessel. And earlier this morning, before I woke up, my higher self was communicating exactly this, that coming in. So when we are able to speak the depth of that truth, that voice in here, we've spoken enough about the voice of the head and the many, 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 many voices of the head, but the voice of the heart, the more we are able to there's one part to be aware of it. There's the next level when we are able to actually listen to it. So there's first awareness, then there is listen to it. The third one is actually then choose to honor it. So that's the next level. Fourth is when you're actually able to then communicate it, right? Fifth is to live from it. So that's the fifth dimensional consciousness, but there are levels of it. So when we go through this gateway, it gives you the opportunity to own it more, to own it more, to own it more. And this is part of living from divine alignment, because my higher self was saying how when you are able to fully commune from this place. And again, just as I've been posting and posting, no sacrifice, no compromise, no sacrifice. Because if you're sacrificing, you're not living your truth. If you're compromising, you're not living your truth. There's a totality of the truth, and it's uncomfortable. Like a couple of days, we were talking about, this, like most of the, what we were talking about it. What were we saying? Like, I was saying, Michael, like, I don't want to compromise anything, because if there is a total truth from the heart, like when we speak it directly, when we honor ourselves the gift of speaking that, then it is also heard within that place, and that's living from the total truthfulness in that. So as the same, I feel that's all part of the fifth dimensional frequency that we're moving into 2020. So the 2020 codes of light began in the what was it, the summer not equinox, summer solstice. So then we've been getting adjusted to live more in the template of that frequency in here, and it's all heart based. It's all truly heart-based, and that's why it's so important. Like we speak a lot about it. I'm like, Michael, communicating what's in, not just you're aware of it. You're aware of it. That's beautiful. There's the other part of it in allowing it. The other part is actually speaking. That's the next level for everybody, to speak from there. Because the more you speak, the more the higher self is coming, and it's moved through the spiritual body to etheric body to mental body to emotional body. It's become the physical template, and that's what we're moving into.
And as well, thank you, Valerie, for expressing that in our humanness. When we do express it, it's also expressing all the old emotional baggage, all the old programming, because right now there is a cleansing of all old energies coming up. So any old programming or any old deep wounds, any old energies that are still cleansing out of the system, they do come up so that they can fully be expressed. They do come up in the emotional capacity to feel that, because there's so much that we as beings, especially those that are placed in high positions, are facilitating and anchoring those energies to come with us, because one part it's clearing from our own personal, but it's also clearing from our own collective. And it's been powerful, because no matter how good or bad it feels, these energies are being brought up one way or another. The universe brings in situations in all levels, so it says it comes through, because in our own humanness we have to clear it. Even before our fullness and our connection to the fifth dimensional frequency, all of us have these debris, all of us have our own conditions from our families, our own challenges from our families, our own experiences from our families. And so as these come up, it's really amazing during these 12 gateways, during 12 to 21, all the things that brings us these triggers are the biggest gifts to see how much impact it does have on us, how much energy is still being brought forward, because the higher the impact, the greater amount that is being brought forward in our expression and our reaction versus response still shows what's being cleared through in our human nature, because we are human beings that are evolving and ascending in that. So, Valerie, it's very important that I'm glad that you're expressing this, because there is lots of emotional energies that come through that sometimes are not even ours. These are old energies from our families, from ancestors, through all these that are coming up. And the only thing we can really do is honor it, respect it, and really look at it in a way where it's not to blame anything. It's to look at it, it's a virtue to be cleared in the highest level.
But I feel it's also very important to stand up. The standing up is very important to that part. Like, so if there's a trigger that's come up, you recognize what that is, and then you stand up to the truth that is communicating inside of you, for you to be able to say no more, because your higher self does not want to be violated. We have violated enough by not allowing it. And also,
the higher self doesn't know any violation.
The higher self is violated. Michael. What I'm saying is the higher self is violated by the human experience, because it's not allowing it to come in. Itself is never violated. Of course,
the higher self is the higher consciousness.
Itself is not. Itself cannot be violated.
Or the teenager, or any trigger that comes up, because that emotional reaction is somewhere that's supercharged, that's here to be here to be released into the highest. And of course, in its expression is the best gift that can be done, because in that expression allows the fullness of that clearness, allowing it to release, allowing it. And what I've learned is, even in that expression of still adding love, adding gratitude, adding thanks, adding compassion to it, because as we add that variable, we are actually using the fifth dimensional frequency to help dissolve that even higher, versus letting other lower vibrations come in to dictate what's coming forward, because those lower vibrations, those are the ones that are being cleared. The highest vibration, which is love and compassion, that is the area that's coming forward to help dissolve that for the highest gift of all, because that too is being brought forward into its cleansiness.
So having said that, again, between these ones, so like we just went through the second gateway, the galactic gateway together. Now we're going to be adjusted a little more until we go to the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, or summer solstice in the winter hemisphere, and we're going to get another. Now this one was interesting. This third one, it is another galactic gateway, but this is an actual major stargate. So you have the gateway opening. So again, like usually all the gateways, the way they open, they start streaming through. But then you have even higher the stargate above it, through the alignment that opens and the streamlines are coming in. And that also takes us to a whole nother level. And again, like for Michael and I, we're outside the astrology consciousness, like we don't give any attention. We both totally have withdrawn our energy from the moon. So although it was very beautiful, it's been several months now. I think for me it's been now almost 8 months, 9 months. And Michael, also we have completely unplugged from the moon. Again, I know those of you are waiting to hear that video. I will get on it. And so we just directly work with the streamline of the central sun, the galactic sun, towards the source sun, through Helios and Vestas Valley. I know you mentioned that. That's very important, because we are the children of the sun. And that remembering that golden liquid light, the golden particles, everything is remembering our sun codes. The sun codes activate the remembrance of our true illumination, like true illumination that we already are. We already are beings of light, embodied in love. And as we open that within ourselves, we can actually live from there. And it has to be felt. That's why it can't just be in the thought field. It has to be brought into the emotional body. Then it has to come into the physical body. That's why that when you feel it, when you're embracing it, you are empowering it, you're able to live from it. When you're silent with it, you're not verbalizing it, you're not communicating it, you're not able to fully anchor that presence within your template. That's why it becomes so important. Let's go over, Michael, what everybody has said real quick. Also, hello. Let's see. Crazy Thursday, we talked about that. Let's see what does Daniel say?
The night before, on the 11th, I was very tired. I've not been sleeping, having dreams, waking up the last few days for. Yeah, Danielle, what's interesting about what the dreams is, we've also recognized, I had a couple dates ago, where there's been a cleansing and clearing of this past decade, which we're preparing for the new year, of a lot of things that have taken place over this decade. These energies are coming up in our dream state to be cleansed and cleared, and sometimes it comes forth in the strangest, oddest, different ways. So we always recognize that dream state is metaphorically what is here to release. And a lot of us, we can mentally look at it, but from another aspect, we can also, just see what are the energies flowing through, so that we don't attach or personalize it. But our dreams have been off the chart in strange weirdness, and frequencies have been moving through with these. So it's very interesting to look at that as well.
My brother, his wife and baby, they're going to be flying in on Monday from LA. He sent me a text. Baby's up at 3 o'clock. She's 2 years old. Wired. I said, oh yeah, this crystal was your diamond, actually, children. She's feeling all that diamond frequency, 12. Of course she's not going to go to sleep, So what else here, Michael?
Valor, I had a sleep time experience where I traveled to the sun and
Oh, nice.
received the transmission, took the
From
transmission back and merged it back into the helix. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, the Atlantean temples are there. Yeah, many of us have been in Machu Picchu as well. Good. That's good. More triggers are being.
It's Valerie. I completely agree. Lots of triggering, lots of emotion, lots of old energies are all here to be released, and I can't say more how important it is to release it with the gratitude and love that when it comes up to be soft and gentle for ourselves, so that it can fully transmute for the highest good and the highest light of all, without it pulling us down into old patterns, into old energies that we no longer serve for ourselves. So thank you for sharing that.
So, Valerie, you said Franco Di Nicola, I don't know who that is, said that the moon will stop transmitting the inverted 3D matrix programming. I don't know about that, so I can't validate that, but what I do know is I'm going to share something myself. Just like I don't identify myself in the Muslim culture, Muslim, my parents were, just like I don't identify myself as really Iranian, Persian. I don't identify myself as Middle Eastern. I don't identify there's so much I don't identify myself as. I also don't identify myself with my astrological sign. Just because I was born into a Taurus, there are some qualities that I also don't identify myself at all with that. And I feel all of these are here for us to grow out of it. So as a result, it was like 9 years ago, I completely unplugged from this thing of Mercury, because I saw there was so much around. Always, I was one of those that was really put into, Mercury retrograde. And I really bought into that programming condition. So I just unplugged completely. And I said, you know what? I'm going to choose to focus on the light of Mercury. And I totally unplugged, and from there I'm not one that's affected by the Mercury. So it took a while, and for somebody who I have led the women's circles for years, like the Red and Goddess circle. Marco, can you sit here for a second? This got really dark. Okay, so we just go straight. That's it. Yeah. So also for somebody, for some of for years I have run the Red and Goddess circles, ancient wisdom of the woman, and majority of my adult years has been revolving around the moon. And so some time ago, it's been a while that I felt like I no longer resonate with the moon, and that's been a few years. So until it was last year that I really, starting this 2019, that I really felt I just cannot, something is not right here. Why am I affected this much? Not positively either by the moon. There's something going on. And the more I got more in touch with my multidimensional nature, the more I realized, and the more this 2019, I started really working with all the different, let's say, consciousness of light, from the ones that I do the transmissions and the light language through. The more love that I experience working with them, the more I recognize that there's something really screwed up with the moon, really, really screwed up, and I no longer want to play part in it, because it makes absolutely no sense how much it actually doctrinates does my life. So I've done so much ceremonies around new moon, full moon, new moon, full moon. I was like, something is not right here. It's recording my cycle and all of that. Just 1 second. So then, as a result of it, I decided I'm just going to unplug. And the way I unplug for me is like this. I was like, you know what, moon, you no longer have power over me, because you are not part of my divine truth. It's not the moon. It's not the moon that I need to be connected to. Is the womb of Mother Creator. And what really did it for me is when I went into channeling transmission of the divine mother, the womb of divine mother of all creation. That's what really did it. I recognized, wow, it's the womb, not the moon. The moon is an artificial domination that has controlled particularly women for so long, and doctrinating that, and And I just don't want to give my energy to that any longer whatsoever. And as a result of it, that was, did you see that? Yeah. As a result of it, I don't want to give my power to this, because I could tell there's something sometimes particular. I would feel like literally from the moon, when it was full moon, like something being zapped into me. I was like, forget it. I felt my emotions have been much more stable. I'm totally unaffected. It's just there. And all of my transmission, the moon is not included. That I do work with still the planets, and I feel so free. And that's how I know there's more love that I'm now working with, and especially with grandfather's son, especially with the other planets, but none of them have an impact over me at all. And that was something that I needed to plug in, because the Draconians have had such an impact through the moon, through their station. And I've known this for a long time. And again, I chose, I'm not going to, just because I have learned about it, I'm not going to pay attention to it. So I'm one of those, until I have my own direct experience, I'm not going to take that. And so I decided to really draw that in. And then I said, nothing outside of me would dominate the way I am here to live and to be. And that includes, that's why I don't use any plant medicine. That's why I don't put any of cannabis, any of those. They're all beautiful. But I have learned that I'm a miracle in form, in the human. And I don't need that on the outside to give me the mass experience that I'm able to experience directly. Why would I ever want to sacrifice this? So moon is also put on the side, and I get to experience all of this inside, and like really swim in the beautifulness and treat the freedom. So we don't do any of our, like all my calendars, events was organized around the moon. Everything was around the woman gathering. And I was like, what am I? It's another program in the spirituality. Any program within the spiritual, I have unplugged. I refuse to follow it.
I think what's so important, thank you, honey, about the moon is also, I feel where we're going and what we're moving into is really, not only just unplugging, it's just staying unattached. Because even I feel like there's going to be a time period where the gateways, the major time points, all this is going to start to fade away. Where when we see our divine nature, then all of these time portions where these major things are happening are going to eventually fade away, because we are moving into a time frame where we're not attached, identified, labeled, or have any expectation of what happens. Because I feel many times that as much as we're being upgraded, as much as we're downgrading, as much as what's coming for powerful, there's going to be a time where these are not going to have effect on us, because we're going to ascend into a level where we're already going to be in a phase where we're not going to be attached to, we're not going to be labeled. That's not going to be who I am anymore, because we're beyond that. So it's beautiful to be aware of all of it, to give it a level of recognition, but to also really ask within of where I'm holding my attachment to. What am I being labeled as? Even like us, even in the spiritual community.
Say like I'm Aquarian, I said
Right.
Taurus. There's some of that we like, but even that's like letting go, like none of that identifies us.
There's characteristics of all, yet the most important thing is it's like a beautiful flower. You can smell and take in the fragrance and see what experience it gives to you and create your own truth from it. And that is the truth which you can create. And with the gateways and with the solstice and with the equinox, everything that's coming through, it's our own truth that's giving us our personal ascension, and it gives us the ability to see what is happening on a larger picture. Take nothing away from the energies that are coming down, affecting us all, because they are moving through. So it's good to.
I feel it, but Michael, we do have to. There are certain things that are still impacting us, because the entire DNA has not become fully crystalline. We're getting there. Within each of these, we're becoming. And when we become fully crystalline, as Yeshua had said, we will not be impacted at all. Like the other day when the Uber driver gave us a ride to the airport, I felt so sick from that awful smell of the food in the car, from the way she drove. So I'm still impacted, but the areas that I know and what was my choice in there? Just to breathe through it. That's all. I still get very nauseous.
No, I
right?
agree. I mean,
so we still, but some of the other things that are outside of us, such as like the moon. No, I refuse to have you have power over me. Like some of those, no more.
I guess the point is
that's part of that self mastery. Like all that I am already is.
But also knowing in any situation that is being brought toward us, it's also a test to see, can we go through it in our fullest acceptance, not resistance,
no, absolutely,
and see how we can move through it without it having such a large impact. Because
no, what I'm saying, Michael, we're going back to the moon. You're going to a different place.
Well, no, I'm just saying with anything that anything that we feel attached to, like the moon.
Yeah.
Anything that we feel attached to that's driving.
Like your astrological chart.
Or take anything away. I agree. There are characteristics, there's qualities, there's areas to honor. All I'm saying is that it's not the golden rule of thumb, because it gives us the opportunity to see what we're expanding to. And I really can't wait to the day where sometimes even we drop the spiritual jargon and we just be the love that we are, and we allow ourselves to be the fullness of we are, because sometimes just the nature of our words creates separation. The nature of how we talk or what we think or our opinions can create separation, when we can just bring it to the unity of what we are, and that is divine. That is love.
Or if it's separation, or it's because you're standing, when you communicate now, you're honoring that in which you are in resonance to.
Right.
So some may feel in separation of it because they can't quite experience that. You see what I mean? And I feel that's another thing to really be. By the way, it's just cute. High self-discipline. You look really good for a 55-year-old. I don't know which one is 55. You think? Which one of us you think is 55? That's cute. Thank you for the.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you for that.
Bigger picture.
Thank you for that compliment. Neither one of us, by the way, are 55. But thank you so much. I am 47, and Michael is just about to be 44.
And yet we don't feel like it.
But thank you. And I am a mother of two, 19 and 60-year-old. Exactly. But thank you so much. That was a cute compliment. So having said all that, the other part that I really wanted to stress with this, my goodness, all this noise is beautiful. You see how we're not affected? We just continue. The other part that I want to just bring this back. So that was a really big part of my own liberation. So what I am committed to is how much can I liberate myself from any BS that I have chosen to give my energy to, that I have chosen to limit this vibration of my I am presence and sort of like hone it into a program, condition, belief system, even within the community, the spiritual community. There's quite a bit I don't resonate to. I don't follow anything or anyone. Directly, I'm guided to listen to my inside and what is coming through my inside to live by and truly live from there. So that's where I am with that.
It's also important to notice the things that we didn't choose, because when we came into this life, we didn't choose our programming.
I disagree. I do feel we've chose programming. We've chosen so many of the lessons. We've chosen all the contracts and agreements.
I agree. We chose that, but we also have to go back to the areas that we're choosing to release, to look at the areas that, as a light being, what blocks the disharmony and what is creating separation. So as much as we can choose what we want to release, we have to also look at that other aspect of our shadows of what we're not choosing, because that still is in our ancestry line to be transformed. Those energies.
Well, we are. That's